Welcome to Diary of an Ex-Ho. I'm Sherry Hardman, I'm your ex-ho, and today's guest is Patrick Goldman. So sit back, enjoy the episode, and remember the old saying, always a bridesmaid when you're a hoe. All right, so we're going to start off with a friendly little game of Marry, Shag, Kill. I always try to tailor it to the person. And it's hard when you don't know someone very well. So what we have, let me just go get it. Hang on a minute. All right, you can see that?
Yeah, I see that.
Okay. Marry one, shag one, kill one. And I did Brooklyn edition. Three
Wow.
women that are either live in or are from Brooklyn. We have Christina Ricci, Lil Kim, Anne Hathaway. Who would you marry? Who would you shag? Who would you kill?
I would kill Anne Hathaway, shag Little Kim, and marry Christina Ricci.
Oh, why would you kill Anne Hathaway?
I haven't liked any of her movies that much.
Okay. Good enough reason as any, right? I always it always seems a little bit weird to me to have a guy answer those questions. Like ask a guy which woman he wants to kill. I don't put you in a weird position, but people and it's a game. So okay,
Yeah, you got to play the game for the
right?
bit.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go back first and just start asking you. Have you ever watched the podcast?
I watched some, I guess, portions of a couple episodes once I saw you made the listing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would like to start out by going back to your younger years and then working our way to now. So,
Sure.
did you grow up in a family where like your parents were together or no?
No, my parents divorced when I was in elementary school, so like around fourth grade. And
Mm.
then I guess my mom was like my primary guardian, and I'd see my dad maybe like a couple weekends a month, or I think it was less when it first started out. And then eventually my mom got remarried, like kind of right in between middle school and high school. And then kind of just lived with my brother, mom, and stepfather mainly for the rest of, I guess, my
Now,
childhood.
how did that go? Getting a stepdad at that age?
It was definitely weird, it was weird. It felt uncomfortable because there was a period of time I kind of felt like I was the man of the household, even though that's kind of goofy. I was like, 12
Uh,
years old. I couldn't do any actually handy. You can't tell me to fix the electrical or whatever, but you know what I mean? So maybe it's just some sort of like animal nature of just wanting to be like, who's this new person? Like I even was like, didn't even want to say like his name for like the first couple months that they were together. I think I just felt threatened by the change.
mm-hmm. No, I get that. My son went through that when I got married because same situation. Um, and then I know, like, as for step parents, like I used to call my stepdad my mom's husband.
Ah,
But then
yeah,
finally, he's my stepdad.
right. Kind of
So,
remove yourself from the relationship
uh,
in that way. Yeah.
do you feel like you had any good role modeling of what a good relationship should be like?
Mm, no, not really, I guess, because also was lived kind of a isolated childhood. I didn't really hang out with other people too much, like outside of like school or like extracurricular time. And so I feel like I didn't really observe that many other inner lives of like families outside of just like my extended family when we met up for holidays. And in fact, it wasn't even until I went to college really that I really had more of those kind of like thoughts of comparison and kind of looking at how other people were brought up and being like, yo,
Right.
what? That's wild. What the heck?
Yeah. um, Now, I'm going to ask you about something that I like. I just for the purposes I call sexual awakening. So I'm going to ask you to think of a time when you first started to realize that there's something going on in this world that you previously were unaware of, whether it's changes in your body or things that you saw. But can you tell me about that?
I mean, I think growing up, there was always like some sort of interest in like the body of like a woman to me, I guess, but it wasn't always sexual. I think it was more so just like some like genuine human curiosity of like the other, like, oh, like why is it that my mom doesn't have a penis? Like
Right.
questions that started from that to thinking of eventually it was around the time I was like 12, 13 that just everybody around me, like the subject matter that people talked about was already, you could just tell based on what we were saying at lunches, like there are more sex jokes, there are more, talking about ideas of sex and making jokes about pornography and all that. And I feel like you're hearing stories about, particularly the guys, at least making a lot of jokes about, getting your first erections and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I didn't know as much as what was going on with the ladies because I feel like there wasn't as much gender mixing at least in my
Mm.
school. At like kind of the friend hangout times. Yeah, somewhere around 13, 14, and it was certainly weird. Like I remember the first time I had ever like ejaculated. I thought I didn't know what that was, and I thought I had like gotten like a horrible disease and I was dying.
Oh
Nobody had
no.
told me that. I never knew like, you know, I never really had sex education.
I was going to ask, like, so how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 27 right now.
Okay. So uh, I'm much, much older than you. And back in our day, about fifth grade, they did a thing where they took the girls in the cafeteria and the boys weren't somewhere else. And they showed us some kind of puberty movie.
Yeah,
Did they ever do anything like that?
we did do something like that, but like you didn't really you didn't really say anything about what sex was. It was just kind of
Right.
like it was more so learning that like here's where babies come from. Sex leads to pregnancy. And like like I mean I'm from Texas, so I feel like they were kind of pushing the hidden agenda of like, abstinence is like the ultimate
Mm-hmm.
thing
Right.
to pursue. You should only have sex if it's like somewhere you don't. I don't think they said like you had to be married, but like someone you were going to marry. It was just kind of like that kind of stuff.
Right. I just had a memory. This is weird. That I think they told the girls about girl stuff and the boys about boy stuff, and then they switched, and like the next time they taught us about boys and they taught the boys about girls, and there was a kid
That's
in the
hilarious.
there was a boy that like passed out during the little movie about girls having periods. I totally forgot about that. Anyway,
That's hilarious.
but I saw that you wrote in your notes about how you think there should be more like education around sex, and tell me a little bit about that.
Well, to me, I felt like I came up in a generation where like we were like the guinea pigs of growing up in the internet. Like I view the internet as like my coming of age. Like I had Facebook came out when or really started popping basically at the end of middle school for me. And so I felt like and there was no real I mean we had that a similar kind of presentation at school and my parents did kind of the classic like oh ask your mom, oh ask your dad. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's just kind of awkward for them. They don't even want to go into that territory, even though they know I'm surely experiencing it. And so it's like, I don't know, you know? Yeah,
I
it just
remember my
feels
son.
like, yeah, it just feels like you don't learn anything about the actual experience itself in classes. And so you're just learning from anything online and you don't even know what's like the factual or like right way of anything. There's no sense of what is an authoritative source.
Right. I was just going to say my son is or was, he's no longer with us, but he's approximately your age. And I remember him stumbling across some porn, and he came and told me, like, I just saw a video of a man peeing on a woman. And so then I had to, like, I mean, he was like 13 probably. So I had
Right.
to, maybe he was even younger. And I had to go into like a little bit of an education that I really wasn't planning on telling him. And it just really made me think, oh my God, kids are seeing, we maybe stumbled across a Playboy out in the woods, but that's all we had in my day. Um, and
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I don't think that's seeing what people see on the internet like that. Um, I don't think it makes them any better in bed or anything like that, you
Definitely
know.
not.
Hmm.
Definitely not. And
What
I
do you
remember
think?
that. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what do you think? How do you think we should teach people about sex?
Well, no, like, cause part of me thinks like it'd be really weird if someone, I guess one, I wouldn't try to pretend that abstinence is happening. Like, I think a lot of the way our relationship and how we talk about sex and like our legal systems, I feel like is heavily informed by like Christianity, and it's like influence on like our constitution and our identities as Americans, at least for a big majority. I
Mhm.
think in the church, like people carry a lot of shame when it comes to sex, and like you're supposed to keep it very hush hush. And I feel like there are plenty of other cultures on Earth where I feel like there's like way more positive embraces of sex in a way that I wouldn't say is in poor taste. I think it's more so like celebrating it as like something that is just a part of life rather than trying to like hide it and pretend that it doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Because I think like when you do that, that's just naturally going to lead to people having really unhealthy relationships with sex. Because you feel
Mhm.
like there's not those spaces to talk about it openly. So you're kind of either taking it out on others or taking it out on yourself, and it's just not good,
Mhm.
I would say.
Yeah, I get that. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I've been thinking about like I'm a comedian. They call me a dirty comic, which really irritates me because I do talk about like menopause and you know, vagina stuff a lot.
Right.
But I actually am trying to do it in a way to empower women and learn about their bodies because nobody tells you about menopause, just for example. And
Sure.
it gets misconstrued as I'm just a dirty comic. And it really hinders me in some ways. And it's really, to me, I look at it as just going back to like slut shaming or, puritanical ideas about sex that I'm a dirty person because I talk about it.
Definitely. It's like any subject that's labeled as taboo, it's like as soon as someone ventures in that, there's always going to be like kind of an effort to box that person in and be like, oh, you don't want to listen to this person because they say X or Y or Z.
Right. Um, did you have any celebrity crushes when you were growing up?
So, hmm, I thought, I thought the pianist Sarah Bareilles was really attractive. I don't know if you know her. She had a really popular song back in the day that's like, I'm not gonna write you a love song because you asked for that. Yeah. I was really just I found the idea of a woman playing the piano to be so sexy to me. I don't know why that specific instrument, no idea, but I
Oh.
think those like kind of singer-songwriter types, like and like low key like indie ones, I think I was just like very
Mm-hmm.
attracted to growing up.
That's interesting. Um, do you remember like ever watching like any mainstream movies that had like a love scene or something that really kind of
Ah,
did it for you?
no, that's the crazy thing. I actually had thought about that maybe like a couple months ago, where like I feel like I never had this like erotic coming to age through an experience of watching something through like a TV show and a movie. I certainly remember awkward moments like when I was too young or like my parents or like the first time I ever did watch like a sex scene with my family, and that feeling like very awkward and uncomfortable, but everybody else seemed to be more okay with it. I was the only one kind of look around and be like, are we okay with this? But yeah, I can't think of anything in particular. Like, yeah.
Um, are you a porn person? Do you watch porn?
Yeah, I watch porn.
What is your some go-to categories that you're willing to admit?
Hmm. Well, I will say when I consume porn, it's actually pretty vanilla for the most part, which I feel like I wish I was like, nah, I don't know if I really wish that that's just kind of like the state of what it is. I feel like I've been more interested in like watching a lot of like amateur porn because I like the DIY aesthetic and like at least
Right,
me, I get to pretend in my mind like, oh, I'm watching people having a more realistic sexual
right.
experience, at least whatever is real to them, versus I guess like some beefed out studio that has like a formula for, whatever.
Right. Well, and the reaction of the females in particular, uh,
Definitely. And I feel
is
like a lot more amateur, they have like more pro female like pleasure, I guess, because I feel like
uh-huh,
traditional porn, it's like the video ends when the guy comes. Like that's it.
right. Yeah, well, what is your idea of amazing sex?
Mm, I think just like really sensual, like passionate. I feel like I like lots of kissing and like foreplay and I don't know, it carrying like some sort of like at least in the moment, some sort of emotions bringing into it. Hopefully, ultimately positively, because I mean, I don't like sexual experiences when it's like negative emotions being brought in. But yeah, and I feel like lots of cuddling afterwards, like that kind of vibe sounds nice always to me.
Are you in a relationship at all?
Mm, right now, I have been seeing someone, yeah, but we've only been together for, I guess, a couple months. So we're not, I guess, too far along the road to, I guess, be facing any existential
Mm,
questions of like, what are we or
yeah,
whatever.
right. Um, how's your body image?
I actually feel pretty body positive. Like I'm not really one to like share a lot of pictures of myself online, but that's also because of a fear of like how I look and more so just a fear about like sharing life online and just how companies are using our images and more of that kind of stuff. But I think there was a period of time like in college I was really self-conscious about the way I dressed. And when I was a little kid, I was self-conscious about my mole, but I think once I gained like confidence in other parts of my life, it kind of also came with like confidence in my physical appearance. And part of me also thinks I just like I get a lot more physical activity in my life right now. So I feel very like in shape, I guess. So probably the most in shape I've ever been is right now.
Cool. Do you have any sexual regrets?
Sexual regrets. Um, yeah, of course it's like the times where I've had sex with someone where it's very clear it was just going from the get-go, it was gonna be a one-night stand, and it's sort of felt like at least I can't I can never say what's in the other person's mind, I don't know, but at least for me, it just felt like very fleeting and, like, not even, like, worth what it was. Like, it was something I got in my head as, like, so excited that would help me feel better or fill whatever void, I guess, that was leading me to, like,
Right,
crave that moment. And I always leave that experience never feeling better, you know?
right.
It's always just like I feel like I fulfilled something, but I also don't feel like I solved any of the problems.
I get that. Do you have anything left on your sexual bucket list, or have you done everything you want to do?
Mm, I'm definitely interested in more like group experiences, like being in an environment where like I guess other people are having sex around me and I may be in like a sexual situation with multiple people. I don't know, something about that just seems very like interesting to me, I guess, because I feel like I'm someone where like I get very in my head sometimes. So I feel like just being an experience where like there's no shame all around you,
Hmm.
I think might fill me with confidence to be like, oh, like how could I ever really feel like I'm a freak or like weird for whatever if like everyone around me is just kind of like going into it, you know?
Have you ever gone to like like a sex club or anything?
Never like one super hardcore. Like I've been to a couple like I guess fetish parties and events where like people, were practicing like BDSM and stuff. And like there were definitely a couple people that were like having sex there, but that didn't seem to be like the big focal point. And
Mm.
like I've been to some like dance clubs where like people were like having sex at the club, but again, and there was even one time where like a partner and I like we went to a swingers club, but I think we just were like we didn't feel any chemistry with anyone around us, and all that activity went on in like private roped off areas, so you weren't even
Oh,
seeing
right.
anything.
So,
So
yeah.
yeah, I've never been to just like a full blown orgy, I guess.
Have you had a threesome?
I have had a couple of threesomes, yeah.
I love me a threesome. Back in
Why
the
do you
good
like
old days. I'm married now, so I don't get to do that anymore. But that was my jam when I was single. I loved a threesome. Two man, one woman, the good kind. What do they call that now?
like an MMF or
I think they call it like a devil's threesome or something like that. If it's two men and a woman, I don't know.
a devil, oh, Eiffel
Something like
Tower,
that.
or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. What's your Instagram?
My Instagram is Patrick Thomas Golden.
Well, that was easy and boring. No, I'm just kidding.
I should have been like Sex Daddy 69. I don't know.
Yeah. How long have you been doing comedy?
Comedy about 2.5 years now. Like, and I started in New York City.
Mm. Is that a hard place to do comedy or easy? I guess it's.
Um, it costs a lot of money. I feel like I've lost more money doing stand-up comedy than made money doing stand-up comedy. But to me, that's kind of funny in a way. But it's very competitive. It's super saturated. There's so many mics and shows and so many people competing for their spots, and everybody's trying to be social media famous, and you know and you have to pay for so many things, at least for like to get spots at these open mics, so you kind of
What do
have
you
to
have? What
like
do you have to pay for? I mean, just like
there are a
drinks
lot
or.
of mics where it's like you have to pay for the ticket to perform and then you also have to buy a drink, so you're spending like at least 10
Oh,
bucks just to do 5 minutes of material in front of only other comics.
yeah. Well, if that's what you got, that's what you work with. But yeah.
For real.
All right. We're getting to the end here, so I warned you about this. Do you have any kind of interesting sex related story that you could tell me?
Definitely. I I lost my virginity to the song Have Yourself a Merry Christmas, but it was September
Okay, how
because
did
the
that?
well, I was with somebody that was super into Christmas and celebrated Christmas really, really early. So now it's weird. Like whenever I hear that Christmas song playing, I have to think about the awkward experience of like me standing next to this girl and watching YouTube videos on how of people putting condoms on a banana.
Oh, oh, that's funny. Now I'm gonna think of
So
you having
sad.
sex. I'm gonna think of you having sex every time I hear "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas."
The
Thanks.
Frank Sinatra version in particular.
Oh, okay. Well, good. It's good to know. All right. Well, it was great meeting you. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much. This
Yeah,
is going to be on probably like mid-January. I think we're at now. Do you have anything you want to promote for January or?
I would say follow Coffee Mob Bar and Roastery on Instagram. They are like a cool brand new I guess roastery and bar and restaurant in Ditmas Park in Brooklyn. And I'm hosting alongside fellow comedian Terry Huang a monthly variety show. We have
Oh,
music, comedy, poetry, we've had dancers, spoken word. So just keep an eye out. We are doing it once a month, and if you'd like to perform, just message me on Instagram and be happy to get you up at some point.
cool. All right. Well, thank you. Have a great rest of your day.
Oh, it was so nice meeting you. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, peace.